Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back to Tea and a Chat.
With Harry and Sarah. Woo.
Yeah, there we go. We're getting there eventually.
Boring.
Finally.
Boring.
It's not boring. I mean, I still think if someone just comes in on this episode, listens to our podcast for the first time.
Well, if someone does that, what are you doing? Go back to season 1, episode 1, and then listen, and then come back here.
Well, listen to them all the way through. It'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, you do what you want to do. To be fair, I guess the thing with these podcasts is there's some that are like really... They're quite kind of specific. If you saw something, you're like, oh, that's relevant, you'd listen to it. Do you know what I mean?
So they would listen to us and think, wow, they're like really cool, really smart, really clever. I'm going to go back to the start and listen to them all. Or they're going to go, wow, she's big-headed, let's edit undo.
In which case, start from episode 1, season 1, work your way through, and by the end of it, or this point, you'll be like, actually, yeah, they are really cool, really. No, I don't know. Do you think you're cool?
No.
I think you're quite cool.
No, I am the most uncool person.
Nah,
Harry.
You're wrong.
I think I'm
more
hilarious, but I don't... No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think I'm funny in like an uncool way. You know?
Funny? Well, like a dad?
Yeah. Yeah. That's my vibe.
What was it?
No, you know what I mean.
Take from that what you will.
No. Anyway, moving on. Harry,
Yeah.
what drink do you have today?
I've got lemon water today. I think I've had lemon water a few times.
That's boring.
I have consumed a tea today. Thing is, I don't tend to consume more than one sort of regular tea. And when I say regular tea, we all know it's an Earl Grey tea by this stage, if you've been listening from day one.
Yeah,
So
boring.
depending on how regular you feel that is. Well, I'll have a peppermint tea. I haven't had a peppermint tea today. But I tend to have like one version of something a day. I'll have like one coffee, one tea, one peppermint tea, and that'll be enough. I don't know.
Harry loves a routine. He wakes up, has his coffee, swiftly followed by a lemon water and a tea, and then maybe if it's a fancy day you'll have a peppermint tea midday, but not always. And then
That's a mood dependent one for me.
And then in the evening you'll have a decaf coffee and a chamomile tea off to bed. That's just how you like to be, and that's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What have you got?
I do have a tea over there, but it's pretty much finished now. So I just have some tropical juice.
Tropical juice.
Left from my breakfast.
What is this tropical juice? Is it Tropicana? Innocent?
No, I don't know.
You don't know?
It's from Tesco.
It's from Tesco's own.
I don't know. It just came in a bottle.
Don't pay attention to what you're buying.
The one from Tesco that was like £1.60.
I can tell you, for all those listening who are really intrigued, it was an innocent tropical.
Why ask
juice.
me then?
I thought you might know. Yeah? It's interesting to know.
I feel like an imposter.
What we're going to do next time is we're going to get Zara to drink a different type of tropical juice, which may be Tesco's own, or it might be Tropicana, or I don't know, whatever other brands of fruit juice there are out there, and see if you can find the difference. Spot the difference
Spot
of
the
your
difference.
juice. This is tea and a chat.
You missed my dad joke. You didn't.
Go again.
I said.
Can't have been that funny.
It's not really a dad joke, but I said, I feel like wait, again, sorry.
Do I need to set you up? Oh, go on.
I said, I feel like an imposter. You get it? Because we're doing imposter syndrome. You get it?
That went down like a lead balloon. So, as Zara's somewhat creatively, use that word in an open way,
See, I am uncool.
creatively mentioned, this podcast is about imposter syndrome, which I think is something that very much affects all different people in any stage of life, wherever you may be.
Yeah, it's obviously very prevalent in the performing arts world, I think.
Absolutely.
But this goes for everyone. Like, you could be a bin man and have imposter syndrome, you know? Like, it's...
I think we've all felt like it at some stage in some way. I mean, if you haven't, then great.
Congrats.
That's pretty awesome.
You should probably come off of this podcast now. Go check out one of the other
one's
ones.
This one's not for you. Unless you listen to it and find out, actually, that I have felt this. You know,
true.
So anyway, what would we say imposter syndrome is? Like...
Well, basically, in my view, imposter syndrome is feeling like you're not good enough in some way to be somewhere, to be in a certain group, doing a certain thing, being with certain people. It's your brain in some way saying you're not deserving of being here, you don't know enough, you haven't learnt enough, you're not good enough.
It's almost like self-sabotage, isn't it?
In a way, yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess it is self-sabotage, yeah. Yeah, and I guess we'll probably reference it a lot in regard to... Well, I know for me it makes me think of class scenarios or workshop scenarios of some kind.
Every hip-hop class I've ever gone into, I've walked in and been like, I should not be here.
Every dance class I've ever gone into. Nah, I didn't mind some dance classes, but no, it's not really... I naturally shrivel up inside and feel my inner being go, oh my god.
Sometimes Harry takes part in our courts dance classes at the Customs House South Shields if you want to come along, but you are actually really good and you don't give yourself credit for how good you are, and you're like, no, rubbish. Imposter syndrome
is imposter syndrome. I mean, the last thing I joined in on though was your warm-up the other day, and then I pulled a muscle in my back, so...
But not even doing my warm-up.
That's just the world telling me.
You need to clarify, I didn't make you pull a muscle doing your warm-up.
No, of course you didn't. It was me doing...
He finished doing the warm-up and he stood up in a weird way and pulled a muscle.
Yeah, I think I should have... Yeah, anyway. Maybe I just didn't warm up vigorously enough.
Maybe not.
Oh, well.
Anyway.
We're all good now. Okay, so... Imposter syndrome is generally that feeling of like, I don't belong, I'm not good enough, why am I here? It's almost like you have that, like in a movie where you see that people have like a freeze moment and they're like, what's going on? Like, it's a little bit like that sometimes, well, I feel like that anyway. Do you, Zara, I can answer this if you don't, have any like personal examples of that feeling and how it maybe, if relevant, it may have impacted that particular example? Or
I mean, so many. Every class that I went into that wasn't a ballet class, especially
really?
At the beginning, yeah. Like when I first started training, I remember, or here's a good example. So when I started training, they streamed you into groups. Like you had groups 1, 2 and 3, and depending on your ability you were put in a certain group or whatever, and we were doing streaming in our freshers week, and I had like made peace with being in the bottom set. I was so sure in my mind that that's where I was going to be, and that's where I placed in the college and where I was training. And then when I wasn't put in that set, I was like, so there was only like me, a few first years, and then everyone else in our class were second years because you were streamed with the other years. And I remember going into class with them being like, I should not be here. Like, these guys have been training for a year already, and the first years that are in this class are all really good. Like, I'm out of my depth, and I'm pretty sure that we had our first class together was contemporary, which I'd never really done before properly. I'd done bits of it, but not really. And then our second class, I think, was hip hop. So I was like, I should not be in here. And that,
quite contrasting in themselves anyway, those first two classes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another argument for another time, because you got streamed in ballet and jazz. Tap was streamed separately. Right. That was a different thing. But ballet and jazz is what they looked at to see your like basic ability. So whatever level you were for ballet and jazz was what you were then put in for hip hop and commercial and all that.
Okay, interesting.
So, exactly. So imposter syndrome, where I'm like, yeah, okay, I like being at the ballet bar, but I hate, why are you telling me to be funky? What's funky? What's cool? You know? I don't get it.
It's interesting though, from my perspective, having seen you dance and seen old videos of you dancing, whatever it may be. You, despite saying this, and I think there's an element of you that would still say you don't necessarily. Hip hop's not your chosen style.
I'm never ever gonna be a hip hopper.
But for me, as someone with a less experience but a little experience, I don't see what you vocalise, if that makes sense.
But I had to learn over time how to blend in, fake it till you make it, I guess, with Imposter Syndrome and all that, into that group. So I feel like I can blag my way through it with the best of them. But ask me to do a hip hop solo, everyone would be looking and be like, well, turn your feet in, darling.
I mean, it's interesting though, isn't it? Because I guess when you say fake, you make it, that's the element of performance, though, is it not?
Definitely.
In that instance, you're actually you're turning up a different dial of your performance in order to, make up what you believe is not there.
Yeah, I will say as well. Like, I think the whole idea behind Imposter Syndrome and that story I just told is it's not true. Just because you think you believe you don't belong in there, wherever it is, it's not true. So the more you tell yourself, I'm not deserving of being in here, I'm not blah blah blah, you've been put in there for that. You've had this opportunity for a reason. You've been put wherever you put for a reason with the people that are there, and you have a right to be there just as much as anyone else. Like, when no one's watching me, I am a much, much better hip-hop dancer or commercial dancer or whatever. I think I'm so funky. The minute someone's watching me, I'm like, no, can't do it.
It's like singing in the shower, isn't it?
Well, no, I don't do that either.
No, but the example of singing in the shower, everyone's insane in the shower, because it's a safe space, no one's there. People might be listening, but you don't really think about it because that's not where your head's at. But I feel like that's a likened example for a different faction of stuff. But I understand that. It's that feeling of judgment, though, isn't it? But what you're, I guess, doing is with imposter syndrome is self-judgment. The people, like I just said to you, I think you're good. I don't see what you vocalize. Is my point. So that judgment that you have for yourself, I don't reciprocate that, and I think, depending on what you're doing and stuff, people will have varying and different opinions. But I think you never know what other people are thinking, so just have fun with it.
I do think there's an element of, so like obviously imposter syndrome, it is about self-judgment and self-belief and self-worth in a way. Like, do you feel like you deserve to be there? But then a huge element of that is, what is everyone else going to think about me? Like, do they not think I'm going to be deserving as well? Do they not, like, it is a very outward experience in a way. Even though it's your own beliefs about yourself, it's an outward experience, because it's like, well, why do you believe you can't have what these people have, or what you can't do what these people are doing?
Yeah It's very easy to say what I've just said, I think, as well. It's just have fun with it. It's it makes me think of my third year showcase, actually, when I say that, because I remember, for me, I decided that I've been training for 3 years. This is our last kind of performance-esque thing, or one of them, and I said to myself, just in my head, I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this, because that's why I came here in the first place 3 years ago. That's what I wanted to do, because I enjoy it. That's why I've come here, that's why I've trained, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy it. And I did. I had a really good time. It was really good fun, and I think in different regards that made a difference to how I performed in those showcases compared to some of my peers who were really nervous, which equally is really understandable, because it's a showcase is generally, it's high pressure in the sense that we all have that pressure of, I want to leave with an agent, and I think I somehow out of nowhere managed to block that out of my mind and just enjoy it, and I think that made a difference, because I was able to give myself to the performance rather than push myself to the performance. I'm not saying either is right or wrong, but I think they bring different things.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to think about it, and I think maybe that correlates in different ways to different things. So something you have trained in and you're somewhat good at already, and you like, for example, your showcase, that's a perfect example to say, okay, well, find the fun in that, try and enjoy it. It's not about you trying to work out where you fit, how, if you're meant to be there, blah, blah, blah. Just have fun. So maybe, for example, if you were to go into a dance class, your goal wouldn't be to have fun per se, because you don't feel these different pressures. But then to get your head out of that imposter syndrome sort of mindset, you can change that to, okay, well, that's all I want to get out of this class is to work on my turns for myself. That's it. That's your own goal. You've suddenly taken yourself out of, oh, I'm not good enough to be here, to, I'm here for one reason and this is what I'm going to do, you know? So whether it's finding the fun in things, working on something for yourself, making a new friend, like, I think setting a specific goal can really help you take your brain, like, stop your brain from spiraling into, I shouldn't be here, I'm not good enough, blah, 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 blah.
You're in control of it. That's the thing, isn't it? I think with imposter syndrome, you sort of feel like you're not in control. Or there's elements of that. You know, you turn up to... Because I think equally, despite me telling that story, there's definitely, like you said, there's definitely multiple instances of me being in a class or whatever, or a workshop, and having that feeling of, oh my God, I've got to do this that all these other people are doing. And they say a monologue, for example, one by one, I'm like, I'm really not feeling confident in this. I'm really not feeling like I understand what I'm saying or whatever. And you shrink, like that feeling of shrinking down into your chair and really not wanting to go, and building it up and up and up. Like it's hard to combat. But I do agree with what you say. I think if you set a goal, whatever that may be, even if it's just to get up and do it, it can be something so simple, big, small, whatever it is. It puts you in the driving seat, and I think
it gives you something as well to later be like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
It's a box ticked. I think life is all about proving to your mind things it thinks it can't do, because it can do anything, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you're only doing that to protect yourself at the end of the day. Imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough. It's like you don't want to risk anything because you might risk failure. But within that, you're going to learn so much.
Yeah.
And you're going to progress and get experience, and you can't, I mean, I think you just look around, I feel like I might have said this before, but you look at anything, wherever you're sat right now, you look at the lights or the TV if you're in the living room, even, you know, the mug you're holding if you're drinking a tea, as you should be with tea and a chat. Someone's taken time and probably failed multiple times in order to make these things the way they are today.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, the first person who had a hot drink, in my mind, I imagine they might have put it into a cup with no handle and like pick it up, burn themselves, drop the drink. Do you know what I mean? There would have been a reason that people discovered and worked out to put handles on things. Or it's a bit of a silly example, maybe, but
no, I was thinking you still burn your mouth every time you drink it. Not worked that one out.
My point is that failure leads to great things.
I agree.
Generally, you know, you can't expect to achieve great things necessarily, and this isn't a strict rule, but you can't expect to achieve great things if you don't take the risks. And if you're in the driving seat, you can decide what those risks might be.
I agree.
And how quickly or slowly you want to progress. But then even to say that, you know, nothing's fixed. You might end up discovering something totally different. You might go into a commercial class and discover that actually, oh my God, I want to be a videographer because I took someone's video for them at the end of the class and this is really cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have no idea what's going to happen. I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but hopefully you get the
nothing new there, darling.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things we've got written down here is, and we've done this before, is to, a bit like I said in my story with the showcase a second ago, think about where you are now and where you have been before. Because I can guarantee, even within that journey, before and now, there may be moments of struggle and difficulty that you have faced, but if you look back, you'll be able to see progress.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the black and white of it all. When have you felt imposter syndrome before? That there will have been a time in your life, whether you were little and you were making new friends, or as you've got to become a teenager or an adult, whatever, there will have been times in your life where you feel like, oh, I don't know if I fit, I don't know if should I be here, am I good enough to be here, going to a job interview, something like that. So think about a time in your life previously where you felt imposter syndrome, and think, how did that work out? 9 times out of 10, it's something good has come from it, whether you've got the job or you've learned something through the process, or you've made new friends, whatever it is, it's usually something good that's come out of it. And I think our brain, because it's trying to protect us, is so wired to see what could go wrong and make you feel, oh, I'm not good enough, so I should leave before I get hurt, when actually you have to sort of parent your mind and remind that, actually, no, we've done this before, like we've felt this way before, so come with me, we're going to be fine, we're going to try again. You just, I said it already, but you get so much experience, and it's character building, to go through those processes and come out the other side. I think it develops you as a performer, as a person, and those risks and things that you do will become easier and probably bigger the more you do them. Yeah.
And
I think it's really important as well, when you do something where maybe not even necessarily an imposter syndrome, I'm doing quotation marks, but like if you feel anxious and you do something anyway, if you do something where you inwardly have to give yourself that push to do it and be like, yeah, I've got this, I'm strong, I can, celebrate that, acknowledge that. I'm not saying you have to throw a party, I'm just saying recognise it in yourself, say, I did that, I acknowledge
absolutely
it. Get yourself a sweet treat yourself, and then move on.
I think that's good, because we're also quick to negatively reinforce things, so to recognise the positives is very significant. I mean, I'm sure even for us as individuals this week, I'm sure we can think of things that we've negatively reinforced about what's happened in our week, whereas there could have been positive things that happened that we might not be able to think about because we don't necessarily reinforce them.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's interesting, isn't it? I think another thing we have written down here is trying to get to the root of it.
I think this is the biggest thing with imposter syndrome, like to overcoming it, is you're not. These thoughts aren't just random thoughts that fall into your head. You believe that you're not good enough, you're not deserving, you're not whatever, for a reason. It's something you've been taught or told, or you've learned from a situation before, and you've held on to that. Once again, I'm going to quote Christy Lee Manning. Hi Christy, love you, you're the best, go check her out. But she always talks about how everything you know about yourself you've learned from somewhere. Like when you're born, you're not born believing you've got chubby ankles and that you're not good at making friends. Sorry, that was so random. I don't know. But you're not, like, you cry when you want something, you're happy when you're happy, and you don't apologise for how you are, you just are.
Simpler days.
But it is, and then as time goes on, whether that be through school, through your family, through whatever, you learn certain beliefs from other people. You start to
get boxed in a little bit.
You get boxed in. Maybe there's like some bullying, or it can be anything. But over time, you sort of learn who you think you should be in order to fit in and not have the negative experiences you've had before.
Yeah.
So this is no different. When you are thinking, oh, I'm not good enough to be here, why? Challenge that thought. I'll use this as an example. Imagine that you're a doctor, right? You've trained for, how long do doctors train for? Like 112 years, right? So
that's right.
You've been to uni for a long time, right? And then you graduate and you're a student doctor, right? So you go into the hospitals and stuff, you're a student doctor. They could look at that as, I'm not as deserving to be here. I'm not. Look at all these people that have done it for longer than me. Look at all these people who are more experienced on field. Like, I've just been learning in a book. I'm not blah, 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 blah. Completely disregarding the 112 years of study they've just done to get to where they need to be, you know?
Yeah.
Like, can go into anything. Like, if you've got a new job and you're like, oh, but all these people have had more experience. You've had to interview to be where you are, I'm sure. There's a reason you're in there. They wouldn't have given you the job if they thought you couldn't do it. You can apply this to 100 different... Anything. But my point is there's always a million genuine reasons for why you should be there. And there's rarely any reasons that are actually yours that you believe in why you shouldn't. It's something you've learnt from someone else. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
So this is why I think this is sort of challenging your thoughts and asking yourself, well, why do I think that? Why? What evidence do I have to support the fact I should be here? Have I studied? Have I interviewed? Have I auditioned? Do you know what I mean? Do I work hard? Do I have a positive mindset? You know what I mean? There's so much that you can back yourself up with to quiet those imposter syndrome thoughts.
It's almost like sometimes you need to read your own CV.
Yeah.
You know, because when you're doing a CV or you're doing interview questions, you're selling yourself. And that's, you know...
Exactly.
Sell yourself. You know, you could do stuff, and if you couldn't do stuff, you probably wouldn't be in the position of the fearful imposter syndrome moment. Because naturally, I think you would... Well, you'd probably find it in something else maybe, but I don't know. You wouldn't even be close to it if you weren't capable of doing it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I agree. It's not in your thing. And I think as well, saying that, I was thinking about like maybe people going to an audition and like having just graduated or whatever, and maybe their CV's not being as big as others or being as whatever, and like having that is an imposter syndrome thought. But at the same time, whether they've been in the industry for years or they've just started, you've all done the same training. You've all worked your way into that room, you know. You've all
got just as much chance as anybody else in there.
And I think the only thing that's going to stop you getting that job is believing that you can't have that job, believing that someone else deserves it more, believing that like go in there with your head held high, knowing what you can do, what you can offer, and if it's the right job for you, then you're going to get it regardless of who else is in the room. Absolutely.
Wise words, that.
Why, thank you.
I think that kind of is good though, because one of the last things we've got here is show up for yourself. Prove to yourself, you know, you can do anything. And it is. It's about backing yourself and having the self-belief and trust in your abilities to go forward and do what you can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I think we said it before, life's short, so go and do what you want to do and challenge yourself in all the wonderful, weird, whatever ways you want to do it.
I always think, imagine being like an old man or an old lady, you know, God forbid, on our deathbed, like thinking about life. You're not going to be like, thank God I was so anxious then and I didn't go for it. Thank God. I really protected myself by not going. You're going to think about all the times you pushed yourself and all the things you know, you got from that and were successful for. You're never going to thank yourself for staying small because you're worried about not being good enough, you know. You don't want to get to the end of your life and think I could have done more. I could have.
Absolutely.
Like, and as well, I think if I look back on me having just graduated, like when I look back at old dance videos and stuff, oh my God, I thought I was rubbish. I thought I was so behind everyone else. I thought when I went into audition rooms, I was like imposter syndrome. Like, I am not. I know I've done my 3 years training, but I'm just not as good as these people. Like, I'm just not. And when I look at it now, I'm like, oh my God, if I had just gone in and been like, yeah, look what I have trained to do, I would have had a lot better outcome and a lot of auditions, because it was my own brain that was stopping me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it carries you through the power of your mind. And, you know, it's not to say that you're guaranteed things for believing in yourself, but you will come out stronger for doing so, with more experience and probably confidence in what you've just done. So when you come around to do it again, you'll know that I've done this.
Yeah.
I can do this.
You've proven it to yourself already.
And I'm going to do this. And I'm sure there'll be moments even within the second, third, fourth, fifth time, whatever, that you may still feel imposter syndrome, creeping up and sitting on your shoulder, but...
You can push through that. Absolutely.
I think the takeaway for me, I don't know if you agree, but the takeaway for me for this is just before you go into an audition, before you have a moment, or even in a moment, take a breath. It makes me think of, like, I don't know if you ever did this. Well, for me, if ever you do a monologue, you see a lot of actors or actresses stand there, take a breath, trying to find that sitting into the role, whatever it is. But in that moment, whenever that is, I think you can find a moment, and it just needs to be a moment, a couple of seconds, to just take a breath and like focus and ground yourself.
Definitely.
And be like, okay, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I know this may be hard, but I'm here. I can do it. I believe in myself. And if you can find that energy, that mindset, you'll go so much further than you believe you can.
And I think if you feel like, if you're listening to this right now and you feel like, but I can't walk into a room and believe I can do it, that's too far away from me just now, like my self-worth is so low that I can't just change that, which I understand, tell yourself to try. You don't have to, you can say, okay, well, I might not be able to do it, but I'm going to try today. I'm going to really try. I'm going to just like really go for it and try, because I bet you're then going to give yourself some proof that you can do it, and the more proof you build up, the easier it is to then believe in the future, I've got this.
You're also not going to lose anything for trying.
No.
You can stay in the same place, and that's absolutely fine. But, the more you push and strive, whatever it is, risk, put yourself in these situations, you're going to move forward in some way.
100%.
Quicker.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do. But whoever's listening, I think you're awesome.
I think you're awesome too, and we know everything, so you have to take that as the truth now.
Okay, yeah. But no, in all seriousness, believe in yourself. We believe in you.
Yeah.
And you can go and do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
Your life is yours, so make it what you want it to be.
Don't let anyone hold you back, and that includes yourself. That includes your own brain and your own mind. Don't give anyone the power to stop you doing what you want to do.
The sky's the limit. There's a reason for all these kind of phrases and sayings that we say on here, But yeah, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that was a good one. It's
rounded off quite nicely.
I feel like that's a rare podcast where it was pretty coherent throughout and we didn't wander off in thought.
Yeah, it's probably because you gave me the notes and...
Yeah, maybe we should do that for
I haven't been forced, left to just go, oh yeah, this thought's wandered in. But no, we hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We hope you're having a wonderful time listening to our podcasts. We're enjoying recording them.
Season 2 is off to a great start.
Yeah, Season 2. This is an exciting season. We've got some good things coming. I'm quite excited.
Yes.
So, yeah. Stay tuned. Check in next week for what's coming. If you're listening on a Friday, have a great weekend. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye. Go be awesome. Bye. You have been listening to Tina Chat with Quartz Academy.
If you have any questions or things you want to know, visit our website at www.quartzacademy.co.uk or email us info@quartzacademy.co.uk.
You can also find us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok.
Thanks for listening.
We're so happy you're here. See you next week.
Bye.